page was that you guys were talking about? 34, and, we did the 1.5, but I thought we were putting another 2 million in just to help fund this sort of. What, we're gonna put another 2 million too?
Well, the expenses, I think the expenses on the trust average about 2 million a year.
I thought we were gonna pay for it.
We didn't have the money to cover all the expenses, so we were gonna contribute 1.5. And if we continue, build that in the budget 1.5, so we won't have to pound out as much. I'm sorry.
All right. I'm Brian Dose. I call this meeting of LaSalle County Finance to order at 9 o'clock in room 250. First order of business will be roll call. Tina?
Here.
Areta?
Here.
Craig?
Here.
Gary?
Here.
Beth?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. No citizen comment. A motion to approve minutes of prior meeting by Tina and seconded by Craig. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Bill, Areta, how are we doing on bills? I'm not there yet. Okay. Yep. Not a problem. I did notice a bill of the auditor's fridge. Was that the office fridge went bad?
Yes, our office fridge, yeah.
Yeah.
We had to keep defrosting it like at least every 2 weeks and just created a mess, so.
Right, you have a motion to pay bills. By Craig, seconded by Beth. Discussion? Rita?
That bill for Seifert, was that what we had anticipated, or was that above and beyond for MAC?
That was in their original proposal
Okay,
in relation to the Kiefer, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? No. All right, bills are paid. Under the current finance, do we have anything as far as fund status report?
I just brought like the general fund today. I was going to ask with the new committees, like exactly what reports that they would like to see. I know that there was mention of breakouts of budgets going forth and so forth like that. But today's current balance on the general fund is 14,711,396. And then all the other funds that are restricted and non-restricted, I mean, the probation, we're still waiting on some grant money to come in for that one, and same with the crime victim witness coordinator. And then I did print a budget status by fund department for year end of 2024 for the general fund. And total used expenses as of today was 100.60%, so we are a little bit over. And Thursday will be the last check run for any 2024 bills. And I think there's only like 2 lingering out there. On Friday, we will close the books for 2024 and turn everything over to the auditors, who will be here next week, all week.
Okay, thanks.
Can I get a copy of the balance sheet?
Sure. You want all of the funds or just the general fund?
All
Okay, I'll email them to you.
right. Have you sat with like EMA and all them right now? Cause the way he talked before, he's like 2 or 3 months behind on some of his grant money that he should have received. So do you have that booked already and everything? Have you sat with all these committees who have grants that are still outstanding?
I haven't sat with him personally. To my knowledge, he's never said anything to me about how he's waiting for money. The only one I'm aware of that is waiting for money is Chuck in probation.
Okay, cause Fred, when he was talking earlier, he said he's always a couple months behind.
Okay, well, and I'm finishing up the accounts receivable right now to turn over to the auditors as well, so unless I come across something in there, but he hasn't said anything to me.
Have you sent out notices or letters to anybody that has, just to tell them, hey, guys, it's your end?
Yes, they are all well aware of that, and they've been in contact with myself and Wendy both
Okay,
with all of their contracts, agreements. She's already working on the CFA with all those dollar amounts, and that's just about complete. I'll have to give Fred a call, because I don't know which route, he hasn't mentioned anything to me about him being behind.
okay.
Did he say whether it was the HMEP grant or the,
I thought it was like 9,000 a month or something like that, or something he was getting, or the grant that he was writing. Maybe it wasn't a grant. Does he get reimbursed for something?
yes, he gets reimbursed for a lot of his stuff as well.
Okay, so do we have all that in?
Yes,
Okay, so those are in as receivables.
correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Finance director, where are we at with that?
We'll be setting up a meeting with Stephanie, Melissa, and Mark and figure out what we're going to do for job description on that. Make sure it doesn't interfere with her current duties in the office.
Okay. All right. LATCF funds? Anything new with that? Was that spent, allocated toward?
I thought it was allocated to the parks for their well.
Right,
And the well has been drilled, but he hasn't shown any bills at county property yet.
Okay,
Brian?
yeah.
So where does the extra money come from? Because it was over what that grant was. It wasn't at 123,000 it was going to be?
Yeah.
So where are we finding the extra 23,000?
Go ahead.
Some of the extra, we did that ordinance for the obligation for the surplus ARP funds that come in. We'll probably use them towards that, but I'm not sure exactly how much it's going to be right offhand.
Did Ken have extra money in his budget to cover any of that?
I don't know. Did he?
I thought he was gonna have a little bit, but he's gonna miss the cutoff, because after Friday, there will be no more payouts for 2024, so.
So Brian, does finance have to pick up some of that if it is short?
If it's not budgeted, it's gonna have to come out of somewhere.
Unless Ken has it in his budget for this year. I think he had a little extra, but I thought the 23,000 was gonna be covered by his budget. That was my understanding, and then the 100,000 out of the LATCF. I think there's like 30 some dollars in interest there, like 100,000, $30 or something, but then the rest was gonna come out of parks.
Is he 36, Stephanie?
Yes. Because I know he was under budget some this year already. And I mean, we all know that doesn't necessarily roll over like they think it rolls over into the next year. But I thought he explained that he would have enough to cover the 23,000.
But how does that work? If the bill hasn't been received, then it can't come out of this year's budget, right? If you're gonna
Correct, it will
close the
come out of
books?
FY 25's budget. Whatever remaining money he didn't spend obviously just stays in the general fund. But it's not like, okay, well, I didn't spend 20,000 of my budget, so now my 2025 budget, I'm gonna get an extra $20,000 because that rolled over. Yeah, so, but it was my understanding that he was going to have enough money in his 25 budget to cover it as well.
The only line item that he's got big, Brian, is site maintenance and improvements,
Yeah. He has
35,000.
Yeah, I think.
And I think that was for the well, because it's the site improvement. But I'll just need direction, I mean, he can get with his committee, but as far as the hundreds coming out of LATCF, and then the remainder, we'll just need to know.
Yeah, on Friday, we can pin him down to
Okay.
what money he does have.
Yeah, in previous years, he's only had like 18,000, 20,000, and this time it's 35.5. So it is a lot higher.
Like maintenance repair, he cut that way down too, and
Oh,
put
did
it
he?
down in site improvements. Maintenance repair, he went from 16 to 10. And regular maintenance and repair, he went from 16 to 10, and then moved it down in site improvements. So it could be used for the building, well, septic.
All right, anything else on that? No? All right. As far as the audit findings, how are we doing with oversight?
As far as the bank statements, I'm receiving them monthly from the treasurer's office, and they're being audited and also put into CIC, the ones that aren't currently in there. So, going well.
And then the trust accounting?
I believe Melissa's handling that, and I know there was going to be some discussion with Mike Nugent as to whether his reports that he provides to the trust monthly, Rita, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe reports that Mike gives to the trust monthly, they were going to see if those would suffice. Because he does like a balance sheet for them as well.
Well,
But I
I'll
wasn't in the
ask-
meeting.
I'll ask Gary, because I had the feeling there was going to be more involvement from Mr. Vazzetti at our last meeting. No? As far as getting us information on a more timely basis? Right now, we only see him quarterly, is it?
Quarterly, yeah.
It's just because it switched from hometown to Schwab, it's a little, I guess it's not all smoothed over yet. I didn't feel, but
Well, yes, now it is. It was last year when you had two different companies. For this year, it should be more streamlined.
I think I specifically asked Mr. Vazzetti, and he said he would still be involved and he would still be getting us the reports as he has done in the past.
Correct.
And then Mr. Nugent will also provide a financial statement every month as he does currently. That he, like that, the vendor account that we pay the bills out of, like the per diem, and then we just paid for our insurance premiums, reinsurance premiums, we paid for that. He provides a statement on that along with the bond proceeds as well. And is each account and how much is in the, because Melissa showed me the report that he gives every month.
So my question is, what was wrong? What were we doing wrong before in insurance trust? It was-
It boiled down to that they didn't break down the cash value of the bonds
That's right.
every month. They just put in what the cost was. And
Okay,
everybody
so
gets all,
who's going to do that now?
you look
Treasurer's office?
in Mike's report, And for every bond, it shows the cost, and then it shows the fair market value. So, I mean, if you keep the bonds till maturity, you get your cost back. The cost, you don't lose anything. It's when you have to sell them, if something happens, yes, you could lose
Yeah,
money
I
on them.
understand.
Julie is recording them though, Areta, at cost value now instead of the market value.
Okay, okay. And was that our
Vice versa.
only,
That was the big issue.
that was the big one? Okay.
Yeah, the issue with the audit was the unrealized losses or gains. But like Gary just said, as long as you take them to maturity, you're not going to have that unrealized loss or gain. You're going to have basically what you invested in.
Okay. There was we weren't dinged for the segregation of duties like we were in the other one, right?
Well, yeah.
Oh, we were too?
Good.
Okay, so how do we address that?
We're gonna have to look and see. I mean, it's not unusual, because you'll find, small schools will have that same situation. Matter of segregation of those duties. We'll have to see what the cost would be if the insurance trust was to go out and hire somebody to do it professionally, so to speak, to segregate those duties.
So how serious is that ding for the lack of segregation? We used to get it
Well-
all the time in the circuit clerk's office,
Yeah,
remember?
And it was in the insurance trust too, if I'm not mistaken. I think I looked at 2019, and it was there as well.
I went back to 2016 and it was there as well too. I think it's just always been there.
I'm just not sure that we should ignore it, if perhaps we should address it, and just not let it continue in each one of our audit reports.
And I know Melissa has been in touch with myself, but I believe we're also going to sit down with Kate and see exactly what it is that they want that we could possibly, how we can avoid that. But the biggest thing with the self-insurance trust was the cost value versus fair market value, which has now been corrected.
Okay.
And
thank
that's
you.
being booked in CIC. So when you print me the balance sheet, I should be able to ask Julie for a report.
Yes,
Those balances should match the balance sheet.
correct.
Okay.
Everything is being booked in
So
CIC
if
now.
she's booking it into CIC, are you doing the reconciliation for it then?
She doesn't book it into CIC, we do.
You booked the CIC.
Right, we get the report from her as to how it needs to be booked, and then we book it.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's doing the paperwork, but she's not doing the booking herself, so there is separation of duties there.
Okay.
A question.
Tom?
Who's responsible to supply the figures that you're going to be using in relationship to the value?
The treasurer's office gets those monthly statements from Charles Schwab.
Okay. So Schwab is actually giving us what,
It's my understanding, yes.
is that market or what's the terminology there for that value? Is that? Market value. Yeah.
Market value.
Market value, but
Okay.
the
Instead
cost
of-
has to be maintained on record, I'm assuming.
He brought it up earlier that they provide the cost and the fair market value.
Fair
for each
market
month.
value.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it shows, we know where we're at. Thank you.
All right, as far as grant tracking and reporting, that's something that we've been working on, and also you're going to look at the duties with finance director when it comes to grant reporting.
We'll have to take a look at that, excuse me, the job description and see what'll be included in that.
How many grants? You said she's already working on the reports for the
Correct.
state.
Yes.
So how many grants did we end up doing and how many are still open?
I think we currently have 28 open. As far as how many we did for the entire year that have closed out, I don't have that number.
Expenditures in excess appropriations, I think you said that was 106%. That's where we ended up in 2024.
That's as of today. Again, I think we have a check run going out today that has a couple 24 bills on it, depending if they're coming out. That's the general fund. I didn't look at the rest of the funds.
Okay, what was the number one overage?
Overtime, payroll, corrections.
Okay. I think we've talked segregation of duties. That was actually under, I think 10 was under grants though, wasn't it? So, the tax extensions. All right, we covered that last meeting, I
I
believe.
thought they resolved that in the
Yeah.
county clerk's office.
Areta?
Did we get a letter sent to those entities on that tax extension problem? The attorneys were gonna draw that up, I
I'm
thought?
assuming they did, but I'd have to check with the clerk to know for sure. I think she was going to work with Pat Herman on that. But find out.
Could you check for me, Don, and let me know?
And then the circular trial balance. Have you had any update from Greg on how that's, what they've been able to?
He has
Find
not
out or
mentioned it to
fix.
me. I know they're getting all their paperwork in a row, and they've sent most of their stuff off to Mac and Associates already, so.
All right. How about, I'm not aware of any agreements or contracts before us or initial grants. Capital asset review, is there anything capital asset wise we've purchased or come up? No?
I will note that the fence grant is now complete. The sheriff signed off on it, Don signed off on it. We haven't received the funds yet, but it is complete and been sent to the state for final approval.
And that's 100,000?
100,000, yes. Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that bill gonna be paid out of this year then? Or is part of that?
For
the fence?
2025,
It's
it'll
com-
be paid out of 2025 because that's when we'll receive the grant money.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to American Rescue Plan. I read email from Sharon. We spent all but 8 cents. We have to send a check to the federal government for 8 cents. So I thank the committee and the county board for the last 4 years for spending $21 million that we didn't know we were going to get and figuring out how to do that. So, and some of those benefits are long-term. So you guys did a great job. Except for the 8 cents. So screwed that up. Sorry. The stamp will be 56 cents? Is this real? Oh my God. Okay, and then as far as the auditor, do you have any written report?
No, just what I've already given you verbally.
Okay. Motion to pay her bills. There's one for $301.96 and one for $134.10 by Tina, second by Gary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, is there any other updates, auditor's office? No? All right. I don't hear anything else. Motion to adjourn by Craig. Second by Beth. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Nope. All right. Meeting's over.